This episode is rated M for mature audiences. The views and opinions expressed on this show are those of the speaker and do not necessarily reflect those of the PFC Entertainment Network or any of the affiliates that make this show possible.
This is the Pure Fury Creations Entertainment Network.
Bueller.
When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious...
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Inconceivable! He slimed me. Get to the chopper!
Nobody puts baby in a corner.
I'll be back. Wax on, wax off. Go ahead. Make my day. Sweep the leg.
They're here.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Don't mess with the bull, young man. You'll get the horns.
This is Power Trippin' Through the 80s with Jason Klaus and Sean Grugel on the PFC Entertainment Network. And we welcome you to Power Trippin' Through the 80s here on the PFC Entertainment Network. Along with Jill Bain, I'm Jason Klaus. We certainly appreciate you tuning in here this week. And if you're out of the loop, you didn't tune in last week, well, that's on you. You need to go back and listen to that, but that would explain what Jill is doing here in the co-host seat. Just to bring everybody up to speed, Mr. Grugel is spending some time away from the studio to get acclimated to a new schedule with his shoot job, as it were, his real-life job. And taking care of some personal odds and ends. And in the meantime, we are very happy and privileged to have Jill Bain with us to sit in for the next few weeks here. You hear her every Sunday on Creepy Soup here on the PFC Entertainment Network. And to peel the curtain back a little bit, if you listen to this week's show, you know that this recording took place immediately after recording Creepy Soup. So we are in kind of a mental roller coaster, so to speak. But Jill, it's great to see you. Thanks for being a part of this once again. How are you on this fine Wednesday?
I am great. I am preparing to cook dinner, which leads me. I got a little bitch.
Sure. That's what we do here on the show.
I make. Well, my mom started it. I don't know if it was a recipe on the box or she found it in a magazine or something like that, but it's spaghetti casserole, which yes is essentially baked spaghetti, but what she used was the Kraft tangy Italian spaghetti dinners.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
It appears they have been discontinued.
Yeah.
So now I have to find it's mainly for the seasoning packets that's in it, so I gotta find a dupe or something for it.
Have you checked out the Google machine? Have you tried and you can't find anything?
I've even went on the Kraft website and it's not even listed on there.
So Kraft essentially just said fuck it and just erased it from the face of the earth.
Yeah.
Not what I call a good business practice, if I'm being honest.
Nope. I mean, to be fair, I'm probably the only person that ever bought it because everyone says, I didn't know they make spaghetti dinners.
Oh, I remember. It was in a green box.
Yeah.
Yep. I remember clear, plain as day.
Yep.
Absolutely, I do.
And normally I shop at Walmart. Lately, it's been the home deliveries. So I go on there, and of course, both stores here in Saginaw, it's out of stock. And I'm like, fuck. So hubby goes to Kroger and finds 7 boxes. He buys them all. Gets home and realizes 3 of them are expired.
Okay, when you say expired, how far off the date are we talking about here?
January.
I would still do it.
See, well, and here's the thing, because like I said, I only use the seasoning packets. I throw because those noodles clump together, and so those usually get tossed. And it comes with like the seasoned packet and Parmesan cheese. Well, the Parmesan cheese gets put on and I won't use those because I have like 100 bottles of that in my cupboard because we go through it so fast. I sprinkle the Parmesan cheese in the meat when I'm frying it.
Oh, okay.
So
I feel you.
Yeah. So I'm gonna open one of the expired packets, or well, best by date is what it is, and then one of the ones that's not past the best by date, and sniff them to see if there's a difference. And I'm using them bitches anyway. I don't give a fuck.
It amuses me that we're talking about this, and I'll tell you why. Because the week before last, I got into a mood. And when I get in a particular mood, I need to take myself out of the environment that created that mood, and I need to focus on something else, but I need to do something productive. So I decided I was going to go through the pantry and reorganize. And if it is a disheveled fucking wreck, okay, no rhyme or reason. And I'm like, I can't handle this shit no more. So I fucking pulled everything out. And I mean, because I mean, everything went on the floor, went on the kitchen, or on the counters, like everything. And I started organizing the different foods and like jars of sauce and your pastas, and like I'm organizing the chaos. Yeah. And I don't know why it just, something caught my eye, and I looked at the top of this jar, and I'm like, the fuck does that say? There's no way this is what this says. To the point of like, my eyesight's not the greatest, but it's certainly not the worst either. You know what I'm saying? But I needed to verify that this is what I was looking at. So I went and got the magnifying glass, expired in 2021. And I'm like, what the fuck? So then I start looking at other things, and you know, a lot of it was still within dates, but I can't want 2019. Like, there was shit in there, Jill, that I'm convinced my mother bought, and my mom died in 17. Like, we're talking 2016 expiration dates, and I'm like, what are we doing right now? Why is this shit still in here? You know what I mean? Because it's stuff that I don't normally use, but if I had gone, I would have if I was making that particular thing. And I'm here to tell you, if I had counted on that being good, and I went to pull it out, and I opened it up, it was nothing but fuzz in there, I'm fucking pissed. So yeah, life lesson, pay attention to the dates.
Yeah, we actually just went through that. Now, I am a huge fan of Frank's Red Hot.
Yep.
And I didn't think it was that long ago, but I went and bought a big bottle at Sam's. Because my husband and I do go through, like, the regular bottles relatively quick. And I'm like, I'm just going to buy a big one. Well, we pulled it out because we were going to make tacos or something, and he was like, babe, this expired in 22. How long ago did I buy this shit? And we've been eating it for 2 years.
So we tossed that. A little extra kick to it?
I don't know. So we tossed that, and he went and bought just a regular size one.
Hey, I can't help but notice your cup that you just used right there. You want to hold that back up for the camera to see? That is a nice looking cup you got there, Jill Bain. Where'd you get that?
I got this from the pfcstore.printify.me. And I don't know if you noticed during our earlier recording, I was using this one.
Listen, it warms my heart to know, to see people using shit that I designed.
Yep.
I mean, that is your logo, but like I added it to our merchandise store, and to see it in real life, like,
yep.
Looking at it on a screen here is one thing, but when you actually have it in your hand,
yep,
and it just, man, there is such a sense of pride that I take in that, and it really makes me happy. And I say all that to say, because we talked about this on your show on Sunday. Excuse me. I wanted to make mention of what's happening with the Christmas store, the holiday store, because I spent a couple of weeks hyping this bitch up that there was over 200 items, and I'm not going to go into the full story. You can tune in or go back in the archives and listen to Creepy Soup from this week for the full story. But when I went to launch the store, a good portion of my products were not on there, so I'm having to go back and redo it, upload it. But if you go to pfcholidays.printify.me, you will be able to get a sample of what's coming. And I figured, since we're talking about this, I will go ahead and give our fans here on Power Trippin' Through the 80s something of a preview of what you can find if you go to the PFC holiday store, including, and this was a fun find, wrapping paper, Jill. And for your show, there it is, the Creepy Soup wrapping paper.
I love it.
And make no mistake, we do have Power Trippin' Through the 80s wrapping paper. There's stockings, there's ornaments, there's all tree skirts, various kinds of ornaments, your basic ones, more elaborate ones, and we do again have more products that are coming. I just have to redo them, re-upload them, like your tablecloth. We have one for the flagship show here, one for Creepy Soup. There is one for this show. Hoodies, different pajama sets are going to be made available. It's taking a second here to pull this up, but this at least gives you an idea of what's on there right now. And this is kind of the official holiday logo right there.
Love it.
Yeah, it was cool. It was a fun project to work on. So again, pfcholidays.printify.me for your one-stop shop for all the Christmas related items, or go to pfcstore.printify.me. That's our main store with all of our shows, all of our shit's on there. If you have a fan on your holiday list, your Christmas list this year, you've got nowhere else you need to go than the official online store of the Pure Fury Creations Entertainment Network.
I know, I'm excited to scroll through and add stuff to my cart.
Listen, don't think I don't have a cart going. Full disclosure, I feel like the podcasters' Christmas shopping is going to be done in one spot this year, so love that for me.
Yep.
Anything else going on in your neck of the woods? How's things? How's your week been?
So far so good. I will I mean, you've seen the changes over like in the little cell across from you, I'm sure. Yeah. I'm hearing mine's coming to an end.
I also heard that. What I had heard previous, when it came across my radar, was it had already happened. And I was like, oh, I was actually going to go find you one day, and I had heard today's not the day. And I'm like, why? And they had said that your cell, or, you know, what you do was kind of on the chopping block. I'm like, what the fuck are we doing right now? These changes that, now we're not going to go deep into this, you know, for legal reasons, but
here's what I find, and this is all I'll say, is when management is siding with us, that it's stupid.
It makes you, okay, here's what I'll say. We are hired to do a specific job, and that specific job is to build a reliable, long-lasting, dependable vehicle.
Yep.
I know this is going to sound stupid to a lot of people who have no fucking idea about what we do, but happy people build happy trucks. And happy trucks are the ones that last the longest. You get people in there and you keep poking and prodding and fucking with them to the point to where it changes the entire atmosphere of the particular venue as a whole. There are no longer happy people.
Nope.
We are no longer building happy trucks. And this is a very poisonous and toxic environment. If you really want to maintain your position as the #1 manufacturer in the world, you need to focus on what gets you there.
Yep.
Quit worrying about so much about the bottom line. Well, look, we get it's important. You want to make money. That's what we're doing here. That's what everybody's doing here. But at what point do you start to compromise your individual product that you're depending on because you have kept fucking with the people that you depend on to do the damn job?
Yep.
This is not fucking rocket science. This is common sense. Okay? There's a more than enough profit going on right now to where you can calm down a little bit and actually listen to the people who are on the floor and actually building these sons of bitches.
Yep.
It is not that complicated. You will still have your 6-figure income. You will still have all of your lavish vacations and perks and all this other stuff. You will still get that. But damn, man, you go grab a pair of gloves and come do what you are proposing.
Right.
Please.
Yeah.
Please do it. You can't.
Yep. That's how I feel.
Anyway. It's just so ignorant. It doesn't have to be. Doesn't have to be. I mean, fuck. We'll save that for an after-hours flagship show live stream. That's a more appropriate venue for that kind of conversation.
Yeah.
Because here this week on this show, we alluded to it last week. We are going to talk about the top 10 80s movies sequel that Hollywood has been obsessed with making. And you have been very excited about this.
I have.
Well, in looking at this list, a lot of these have been made since then. Some were in production when this list was made. Some had already been released. Some were being anticipated. Coming in at number 10, and we spent a little bit of time on Sunday on Creepy Soup talking about actors and actresses that if they're in a movie where we generally don't spend a lot of time seeking that particular flick out. For me, one of the guys was Tom Cruise.
Same.
Yeah. In 1986, Tom Cruise was everywhere. All because of one movie, Top Gun. And in the years since then, upon its immediate release, there was question as to whether or not a sequel would be made. It did not occur for decades. But Top Gun Maverick became one of the highest grossing films ever, which is kind of a mind-boggling thing when you consider, well, I guess maybe not, when you consider what the value of our dollar was back in 1986, and here it is in 2024. So I don't really put a lot of stock into this.
Right.
We have our opinions of Tom Cruise. You and I are not fans, for the lack of a better term. But where was the original Top Gun at on your radar when it came out in 1986? Did you give a fuck about it?
No.
No?
I watched it, but it was like years later. And yeah, wasn't my thing. I didn't love it, didn't hate it. I really didn't feel, I mean, look, in the 80s, if it was a movie, Kenny Loggins probably had a hand in the soundtrack.
We talked about that. He was Mr. 80s soundtrack for
yes.
sure.
And oh God, my husband, he bitches about it. He's like, I can't stand him. I hate it. I hate that song. But like soundtracks, I was more into a soundtrack really than an actual movie.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes.
The original motion picture soundtrack was such a pivotal part of any blockbuster movie that actually went up into the 90s. I think of Forrest Gump, and what an amazing, I mean, the movie itself is one of my favorites, but the compilation that they were able to acquire, I mean, you want to talk about the greatest songs of all time in one. But they weren't always that deep. I think in that respect, I think of Forrest Gump, I think of The Big Chill, had a lot of Motown songs on there, a lot of 60s and 70s, early 80s songs. The Big Chill has an all-star compilation as well, on screen as well as in the soundtrack. But like Back to the Future and Eddie and the Cruisers, and I can't tell you how many copies of Eddie and the Cruisers 1 and 2 I bought on cassette tape, you know, and CDs. Wore the fuck out of them, you know what I mean? Just great music. But Kenny Loggins, like, chances are he was on one of those albums for sure.
Somewhere.
All right. Number 9. Coming to America. Were you a fan of the original Coming to America? Are you serious? You didn't like Coming to America? Any particular reason? Are you an Eddie Murphy fan?
I love Eddie Murphy.
Okay. I was starting to get worried here. I was like, well, if you don't like Eddie Murphy, I don't know if we can continue on here.
No, I love Eddie Murphy. I don't know. I think I watched part of it because, I mean, I know the premise of the movie, but I don't remember how it ends. So I don't know if I watched the whole thing. And I mean, it's not something I'm opposed to watching. It's just never been like the first thing I grabbed, like when I went to rent a movie back when you still could. Yeah. I'm not, like I said, I'm not opposed to it, and I do love Eddie Murphy. I don't know.
Is it the setting? Is it too over the top? Is it too much of a departure from what we had seen him in like 48 Hours, Trading Places, Beverly Hills Cop, even The Golden Child? Like that is a more realistic setting environment. You're talking about Detroit or LA or things of this nature. Coming to America, the premise of it is he is the prince of another country that comes to America to find his queen instead of the one that has been prearranged for him. He wants to find true love. What stands out for me in this movie is the number of roles both he and Arsenio Hall played. And the barbershop scenes are some of the greatest scenes in those movies. It's just because it's either Eddie Murphy or it's Arsenio Hall, but there's like 6 characters in the barbershop scene. You know what I mean? And to see and hear the different dynamics, kind of like the Clumps. Did you see the? Okay, so it's that premise. I have to be honest with you though. I haven't seen the sequel yet because it wasn't released as a in theaters. It was one of the streaming apps got a hold of it that I didn't have, and it didn't entice me enough to actually subscribe to that app. I'm already pissed off that I have to subscribe to Netflix if I want to watch Monday Night Raw in January. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm fucking over it. So I've never seen Coming to America Part 2, but I was a huge fan of.
I didn't even know there
first
was a
one.
part 2. I didn't know there was a part 2.
Well, there is.
Okay.
Number 8, keeping in line with Mr. Murphy. And this was one of the ones that enticed me that I have to get Netflix because this was released as a Netflix exclusive. Beverly Hills Cop 4. Axel F.
I know Roy. I know my husband has seen it. I have not watched it yet. I do like the Beverly Hills Cop movies, but I have not had the time to watch that yet. But I plan to.
I am with you on that. I have not seen it. Like Netflix is like targeting me. You know what I mean? Like they got the rights to Monday Night Raw, so I clearly you have my immediate attention. But the Mike Tyson fight that's coming up, this Beverly Hills Cop movie that came out, and there's other things that are going to be coming down the wire that I'm like, I have no choice but to get it, or I'm going to be missing out on a lot of shit that means something to me. You know what I mean? Not to mention all the other stuff that's already on there. So
yeah, and speaking of like apps, like okay, so I was waiting for a specific show to finally come to Hulu so I could watch it. And as soon as I finish the season, which I'm about halfway through right now, I'm done. Hulu is getting too expensive.
Yeah.
And there's ads. So
the ad breaks are stupid.
Yep. But I started listening yesterday to season 5 of Dark Side of the Ring because I love that show.
Yeah, I was real excited when I seen that they uploaded more because they just had the first 2 on there for the longest time, and I can only watch those so many times.
Yeah.
Because where we work, I need something to keep the time moving.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't let it be something I've never seen because I need to watch it in case I miss something. So if I know what's going to happen, I can just listen to it and just kind of peek in from time to time as it's allotted. But when they release the newer seasons, I was like, oh fuck, finally! Like, why does it take so long?
Yeah.
Do you have as a sidebar, do you have a favorite episode of Dark Side of the Ring that you've come across so far?
I wouldn't say I have a favorite. Excuse me. There's standouts. Obviously the 2-part Benoit episode, the Brian Pillman episodes, the Marty Jannetty one. It was the final one for season 4.
God damn. I couldn't believe what the fuck I was listening to.
Right?
That dude is off his goddamn rocker. Like and no pun intended, because he was part of the Rockers.
Yeah.
But he's fucked up. There's something has become disconnected
Yeah.
in his brain.
Yeah.
For sure.
And like I was listening at work yesterday, and the Terry Gordy episode was like,
mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a low key story that not a lot, and I'm so glad that the producers did an episode on him.
Yeah,
he is not appreciated nearly as much as he should be.
Oh, absolutely.
As a performer, you know. Because Michael Hayes just overshadowed everybody in the Freebirds.
Yeah.
Just that over the top charisma, man. But when the bell rang, you wanted Terry Gordy on your side. You know.
Agreed.
So,
yeah. That was actually a little heartbreaking to listen to that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. One of many sidebars here on the show. Okay, coming in at number 7 has not been made, but apparently there has been a lot of drafts written, a lot of ideas thrown out there. In 1988, we got a very odd pairing of a movie called Twins. Arnold Schwarzenegger, Danny DeVito. Evidently, there is a push for a second movie in which they have another brother. Can you imagine?
Oh my God.
And how are they going to tie that into the first one?
That would be amazing.
Mm-hmm. Watch it be Sylvester Stallone. He's like the large, medium, small.
Yeah. Oh, for sure I'd watch that.
Fuck yeah. In a heartbeat. Where you at on reboots?
You know,
it depends, right?
It depends on what it is, and it depends on what it is and who is involved.
Okay. 1986, Jim Henson was very prominent in Hollywood. He had, for people who don't know who Jim Henson is, you just don't know that you do.
Yeah.
This is the guy that created the Muppets and Fraggle Rock and a number of different puppet animation endeavors.
Mm-hmm.
He took that to the silver screen
Labyrinth.
in 86 with Labyrinth. Jim Henson's daughter is producing a new Labyrinth movie. What's your feelings on this?
Is it supposed to be a remake? Or like picking up?
Let me see what it says here. According to the Hollywood Reporter, which is a reputable news source for that genre, a sequel was in the early stages of development as of 2017. Planned to be written and directed by Fede Alvarez and produced by Lisa Henson, who is the daughter of Jim Henson and CEO of the Jim Henson Company. So it looks like it's a sequel instead of a reboot. So that could make the difference. But you're not getting David Bowie.
No.
Jennifer Connelly still looks like $1 million, but I mean, let's be honest. We're talking, 40 years after the original. She still looks good, but she don't look like a 17-year-old kid no more.
Right.
So if it's truly a sequel, what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah.
Where you at on Labyrinth and Dark Crystal and movies like this?
I find them interesting. They're not necessarily my go-to.
Mm-hmm.
And I do remember, I know we talked about it, I believe last week, how my dad worked at the theater and I could get on Wednesday. Yeah. And I do remember he wouldn't let us watch Labyrinth I'm not sure why, but we couldn't come that week. But I do remember, I don't remember anything about it, but I do remember going to see Dark Crystal.
That was the first movie I fell asleep in. I got invited to go and see this movie with some friends, and when we were in elementary school. I didn't give a fuck about it. The never-ending or the everlasting story, the never-ending story, whatever that one is, same thing.
Yep.
Could not get behind it.
Yeah, I don't think I've watched that one.
Labyrinth at least kept my attention throughout the thing because I had a crush on Jennifer Connelly. I thought she was fucking gorgeous. And I hated David Bowie. I quit listening to David Bowie's music because of his portrayal of his character. I was like, man, fuck you. He went after a kid. We talked about this on Sunday on Creepy Soup. You target a kid. No. So
right.
Fuck you, David Bowie. No. Listen, when I get passionate about something, you know what I mean? Like, I don't let it go. Sean Grugel and I have gone on record, and we have talked about the different movies that we feel need to be left the fuck alone. Mm-hmm. Back to the Future is one of those that immediately come to mind. Mm-hmm. I'm a little salty over the news that they're going to remake or reboot The Goonies, but there was a push for a sequel for the original movie that Richard Donner, who directed the first one, was actually the reason why there was not a sequel. He did not want to move forward with the story. So instead of the sequel, we're getting something of a reboot. What's your feeling? Where is the Goonies at in terms of your fandom and your feelings about a reboot of this particular movie?
That one should be left alone, in my opinion. I mean, it was a good movie when I was a kid. I got to see it. I mean, it's not in my top 10 or anything like that, but no, leave that one alone. It's got such like now almost like a cult-like following.
Absolutely, it does.
So why would you want to piss all those people off with a reboot? No.
That's my whole thing.
Yeah.
You are alienating. Do you expect the majority of the fan base, for the lack of a better term, of the original film to follow it over to this new piece of shit? I say that just because I'm not a fan of reboots. I'm just not. Because there's no charm to it, in my view. Yeah. I can't think of there's a few exceptions where, like the Vacation movie, I can get behind that because it still had elements of the original movie.
Right.
Chevy Chase and not Ellen Barkin.
Beverly D'Angelo.
Thank you. God damn, why did Ellen Barkin pop up in my mind of all people? They made cameos in that, so I could get behind that.
Yeah.
But the Goonies, the story was perfect.
Right.
They went on the treasure hunt. They found the treasure. Boom, done.
Right.
I don't want to know what happens with Sloth after the fact. I didn't give a fuck.
Right. And the people to not piss off is Generation X. Don't piss them off.
For real.
No.
You realize, really, we have the whole world by the balls, right? Mm-hmm. Like, why do you want to do that?
Right. Absolutely.
All right. Number 4.
Oh, shit.
Bill and Ted Face the Music in 2020. 30 years after the original movie came out. I appreciated the original, hated the sequel.
Same.
Did not even pay attention to this new one.
No, I have not. No, I agree with you. I like the original. It was funny. It was different.
Yeah, original.
But nope, I was not a fan. I don't even think I finished the sequel. Because I'm a believer of my time is precious, and I'm not going to sit through an hour and a half movie when, after, like you said on Sunday, if 30 minutes doesn't catch me, I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm same. And that was the sequel. And yeah, I wouldn't, no.
I just felt like, and I felt like this when the original movie came out. This is a one-dimensional character base.
Mm-hmm.
It does have a ceiling. You can only go to that well so many times with that particular brand of humor. What saved it for me in the original was George Carlin.
Yes.
Because I was such a huge fan of George Carlin.
Same.
And the dude that portrayed Napoleon was the scene stealer for me. So anytime he was in there, like, I was on board. Keanu Reeves, since then, because, these characters, they're burnouts, or, they're perceived as less than intelligent.
Yeah.
Just their presentation. Keanu Reeves goes, beyond that, does Speed and The Matrix and John Wick movies.
Yep.
And then he's going to go back and what I felt like really took a step backwards to reprise this role. And it almost feels like he did this as a favor for the other actor in there to keep his ass relevant, because what the shit has he done since then?
Lost Boys.
Right, and that's it, right? I don't know of anything else.
Yeah, I can't think of Alex Winter being in much of anything. Except, like, those two things.
Right. So, yeah. I wasn't on board with Bill and Ted. It just isn't my thing. Number 3. Gremlins.
Leave it alone.
Part 3 has been written and reportedly in development.
Saw the first one, loved it. Not gonna lie, I didn't see the second one.
I saw the second one. The only reason why I saw the second one is because I found out Hulk Hogan had a cameo in it. He doesn't show up until later on in the movie, so I sat through the majority of that thing, watched it until he made his appearance. Underwhelming, I don't mind telling you. I remember thinking that as a kid. Like, wow, that's what you did with him? Gremlins is another one of those movies. Why did we go beyond the first one?
Yeah.
It was perfect the way that it was. And the marketing behind it was on point.
Absolutely.
1984, that's all the Christmas of 84, Gremlin Gizmo was all over the fucking place.
Yep, all over. I had one of those, like, little portable record players that, like, a lot of kids had. And when that came out, I remember my dad buying me, it was like a whole set of stories about Gizmo and little adventures he went on and stuff. It was, I don't know, 4, 5. And I remember listening to him, but yeah. No, like I said, I never saw the sequel. First one was fine. Leave it alone.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Number 2. And the reason why there was such anticipation of a sequel for this, if you were a fan of the original, is because the dude legitimately says it in the movie that there is going to be a part 2. It has not happened yet. Spaceballs is apparently trying to, there's what they have written here, there is a push to get Mel Brooks to sign off on a sequel that has been written for Spaceballs. He actually makes mention of it in the original movie when he's portraying Yogurt. And they're like, will we meet again? Yes. And Spaceballs 2, The Search for More Money. It was looked upon as a joke, but then people started saying, no, there was actually a script back in 87 for Spaceballs 2, The Search for More Money. But then it just, nothing ever happened. Now it looks like it could potentially be a thing, especially with the ever-expanding franchise that we know as Star Wars. So there's still a lot of interest in this genre. And like Mel Brooks is getting up there. Like I gotta believe he's in his 80s at this point. Rick Moranis, who played Dark Helmet, he hasn't, he stepped out of Hollywood to focus on his kids and things of this nature. And I don't know, if he would be willing to reprise that role. Bill Pullman, who was Lone Star, you're not getting John Candy because he passed away. He was Barf. Daphne Zuniga, I don't know what she's doing nowadays. I just don't feel like a sequel is the way to go here, and I don't really care about a reboot.
No.
Where are you at on Spaceballs?
I've never seen it. I've never seen it, but knowing how like the jokes and stuff they would tell back then, never get away with that now.
No.
Like you couldn't get away with that now. There'd be, no. Like I've seen like little video clips and things from it. I've never seen the whole movie. But to me, something like that, in order to be a sequel or even a reboot, you're not going to be able to tell those same jokes that you did back in the 80s.
Right.
Because we weren't soft.
Oh, love you for that. It's no, and I got into a conversation. It wound up getting a little heated. I was a little surprised, especially with who I was talking to about Blazing Saddles, Mel Brooks's movie that I believe that came out in '74, and you just could not. You could not get that thing greenlit from the first scene. And it really laid the groundwork for what it was. But when that movie came out, you're talking about shows like All in the Family and the Jeffersons and, things of this nature that were on network television that were really pushing the creative envelope.
Yeah, for sure.
We're bringing racism and things of this nature very much in the limelight, but trying to put something of a comedic spin on it.
Right.
With Mel Brooks movies, there's always a deeper meaning to it if you go beyond that.
Yeah, and there's absolutely no way. I think pretty much any of the comedies from the 80s, like the more adult type comedies, there's no way that could be remade today. No way.
No, as I sit here and I think about the different shows that I watched that I was into, I'm like, no, can't do that one. No, that wouldn't fly. No, because of what you said. Yeah. Everybody's become so goddamn soft.
Yep.
The wind blows the wrong direction. I'm fucking offended. It's like, yeah. All right.
Yep.
Number 1 just came out. Beetlejuice.
And I haven't seen the second one yet.
Were you a fan of the first one?
I mean, not one of the crazy fanatical fans, but I did love the movie.
Did you see Shane DeGeis at work?
Yes.
You see his Beetlejuice get up?
Yep.
That dude had it going on.
Yeah.
I had to stop him. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah. And, you know, he did like the same thing last year, like about a week before he started, and creative as fuck.
Yeah. His Joker that he does is fucking amazing.
Yeah, someone said it creeped him out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he is he is zeroed in on that. And yeah, like that week leading up to Halloween, every day he was a different character.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, man, that's really awesome. Some other movies that either have been made, are in production, or people are wanting to be made. We touched on The Dark Crystal. Apparently that's going to become a Netflix series if it hasn't already been released. Writing has been underway for a new Cheech and Chong movie. You can only imagine. Robert Zemeckis has shot down the idea of a sequel to Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Flash Gordon remake is supposedly still happening. That's a character I never gave a fuck about. Flash Gordon.
Me neither.
Conan the Conqueror has been scrapped, so that's not happening now. And that's all they have here. So, I don't know. It wasn't a bad list.
Wasn't horrible. But yeah, as far as like the Goonies and Spaceballs to do a reboot, no. Nope.
Nope, just leave them alone.
Yep.
They're, it's certainly a one and done thing. And, the one movie that I was so glad I did not see on this list in any capacity.
E.T.?
Yep. 100%. How'd you know that?
I was honestly thinking the same thing. Please don't have no E.T. No E.T. That was
the perfect movie.
Leave it alone.
E.T., Back to the Future, the original. Like, I understand there's 2 and 3, but because it was the same core people that went throughout. So I'm okay with that. But they didn't need the sequels.
No.
Back to the Future and E.T., in my view, are the perfect movies.
Mm-hmm.
Forrest Gump, too. I would put Forrest Gump in that category. Yeah. Just because, man, it ties into every one of your emotions.
Yeah.
It's going to get you in some regard.
Yep. And I know on Sunday we talked about how my son didn't really watch cartoons, things like that. He watched like the horror movies, and I think the only cartoon he really watched was the Iron Giant. But my daughter at 2 would sit through multiple times a day Forrest Gump. And I love the movie, but because I watched it probably 50 times when she was little,
You're over it?
I'm over it.
Mm-hmm.
Over it. She also ruined, they used to be my favorites when I was younger, Grease 1 and 2, and she wore those out for me too. So thanks, Judy.
God damn it, Judy. We talked about the 30-minute rule.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have me within 30 minutes, you ain't getting me. Grease 2 is that. Cannot stand Grease 2. Love the first one. Can't do 2.
I love the second one. I don't know. But I think it was really like when it came out. I mean, I wasn't old. I was still in elementary school. And as a kid, I just thought Michelle Pfeiffer was like the most beautiful woman on the planet. And like her in that movie was just...
She has one of the more unique facial structures that I've ever seen.
Yeah, and I even today I still think she's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, age has done well with her.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people can say that, but
No.
like she still looks like $1,000,000. For
Yep.
me, you know, when she was in Batman Returns, she played Catwoman in Batman Returns. That may have been the best I thought she ever looked.
Yeah,
like
gorgeous woman.
Oh goddamn, yeah, she was. Then you put the black leather shit on, and like, yeah, girl, you got it going on back in 1992.
Yeah, yeah, nope. Like that was part, and you know the guy that played Michael Maxwell Caulfield, he was very like in my little girl brain, he was like, gorgeous, and to me, as far as a couple in a movie, they were like perfect. He was gorgeous, she was gorgeous, yeah. And I'm not gonna lie, because I owned the soundtrack for that. And then, you know, on Spotify, you can look that shit up, and I'm listening to it. I'm like, what the fuck did I like about this soundtrack? It is so goddamn stupid.
For the second one?
Yeah.
Yeah. The first one was good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't even listened to the second one because they failed to get. Actually, with that one, I don't even think I made the 30-minute mark. I think I got about 10 minutes into it. I'm like, nope, can't do it.
Yeah. Nope, that was one of my favorites. Judy wore both of those out. I think I got them like when Columbia started doing the 10 movies or VHS tapes.
For a penny.
And that was 2 of them that I got, and she wore them out. Yeah, so.
The Columbia House days.
Oh, fuck.
Oh, man.
That was a rabbit hole we all got sucked into, I think, at one point or another.
Just about every. If it wasn't your cassette tapes, it was VHS tapes or it was DVDs. I remember my mom signing up for the VHS club, and we got, I think she had to buy one movie for $20, and then we got like 10 titles for free.
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't tell us that she did this. So one day in the mail, this box comes, and my mom knew what it was. We didn't. She goes, "Go ahead and open this up." And like there's 11 like Stand By Me was in there, and The Karate Kid 1 and 2 were in there. Like she went through and got all of our favorite movies that we just loved. And I will never forget that, because then, like everybody else, we didn't fulfill our obligations by buying 5 more at regular price. Go fuck yourself. I already got what I wanted.
Right. Now, is there a movie from the 80s that you would actually like to see a sequel to?
Good question. That is a good question. I don't think so, because the ones that I felt could have had sequels, they did, like Indiana Jones.
Mm-hmm.
And I really enjoy those movies. The Die Hards, I really enjoy those movies. Lethal Weapons, those were good. But there are some sequels you should have never made, like Teen Wolf 2. Like the only common thread between the only actor that I think was in that made the transition to 2 was the dad, who was actually the uncle of the main character, played by Jason Bateman in the sequel. And it was fucking horrible because Jason Bateman sucked back then.
Yeah.
This was during the Valerie years, the Hogan family years,
Yeah.
He's gotten way better since then.
Oh, yeah. I love his movies, and like him and Horrible Bosses.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. He has really come into his own. I watched Dodgeball with Vince Vaughn and Ben Stiller the other day, and I forgot that Bateman was in there. He had a small role as the color commentator for the Dodgeball games, and he was killing me, killing me. But yeah, he was absolutely horrible in Teen Wolf 2. I don't really think. Yeah. I would have liked them to see. I would have liked to have seen them do something more with Blue Thunder. And Blue Thunder, like not a lot of people remember that movie, which then spawned a TV show because it came out at the same time as Airwolf.
Yeah, I remember hearing you and Sean talk about that, and I'm like, you know what? I'm one of them. I don't remember. I remember Airwolf.
Yeah. Blue Thunder, to me, was a cooler helicopter. It looked cooler. It had cooler gadgets and gimmicks on it. Roy Scheider was in the movie, and Daniel Stern. I think that was Daniel Stern's first major role. Warren Oates was in it, who was he was relatively well-known actor in the 60s and 70s and the early 80s. Played in Stripes. I would have loved to have seen what they could have done with Blue Thunder. And I really wish, if anybody's going to reboot anything, I wish it would be that. But I can't think of anything else really off the top of my head that, why couldn't we have done more with that? Because, like I said, the things that I thought they would have, they did.
Yeah.
Rocky, Rambo, obviously. Terminator. I mean, even though it took a minute to get part 2, but god damn was it worth the wait.
Yeah.
Terminator 2 is one of those that eclipses the original for me.
Yeah.
One of the few.
I don't, have I seen the second one? I know I saw the first one.
Terminator?
Yeah. I know I've seen the first one, and I watched it because Roy's aunt was obsessed with Michael Biehn.
Mm-hmm.
And she made me watch it.
No, I understand.
I
understand that.
I mean, I can't think of any that I think. No. And see, and I don't even know if that might have been a 90s movie. River's Edge.
River's Edge.
I'd have to look that up.
Is that with Crispin Glover? Was he in that?
He's in it. He plays an asshole.
Yeah.
Keanu Reeves, Ione Skye.
I feel like that came out in 87.
Dennis Hopper. I mean, I would like to see like where the other kids who were covering or where they are now, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, what do they do with their life after that? But yeah,
I wonder what they could have done beyond the first movie of Stand By Me. Because now that I'm thinking, I mean, we know River Phoenix's character dies. You know, he narrates that. But aside from all that, I wonder if they could have done something like, even as like not like a prequel, but another adventure with the kids.
Yeah,
you know, that would have been something. Other than that, I don't really. That's a great question, though.
Yeah,
great question.
I mean, that's really the only one I can think of. The rest, and that was, like I said, that's just more me being nosy. What the fuck are they doing now, kind of thing. But like, yeah, like things like E.T., Goonies, leave it alone. Leave it alone. Don't do it.
I got one. You know who I would have liked to have seen more movies with? Uncle Buck.
That, yeah.
But you can only do that with John Candy.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
That's leave Uncle Buck alone.
Yeah. Now, yeah, but while he was still alive, a sequel would have been kind of cool.
I could see it. If it was written in the right way, I could see another weekend with Uncle Buck or something like that. You know?
Yeah.
But again, you know, part of the charm of that movie were the kids in it.
Yeah.
You know, that's.
And sometimes when they get older, they lose their cuteness or their
talent.
Yeah.
A lot of their talent relied on their cuteness. You take the cuteness away, you're like, wow, you really don't have it, do you?
Right, yeah. Yeah, a lot of kids like that, like the kid from The Sixth Sense.
Oh, Haley Joel Osment.
Yeah, that Jonathan Lipnicki from Jerry Maguire. Like, he was adorable.
Yeah.
Not so much now.
No. Jeez, I forgot about that. Yeah, I haven't seen what he looks like recently. Probably would blow my mind. I actually saw a recent picture of that kid from The Sixth Sense, and I was like, they said that's who it was, and I had to really look. I'm like, oh my god, it is. Like,
He
he's
looks
got
like
a
someone's
full
grandpa.
beard. Yeah. And they had him compared with somebody else. It was a side-by-side shot. I can't remember who it was, but I was like, oh my god, that is. You could tell within the eyes.
Yep.
You know, like that is him.
Yep.
Fuck. Sorry. Macaulay Culkin looks that. Yeah. Anyway, I don't want this coming across the wrong ear holes. The next thing you know, oh, you're slandering people. Yeah,
right.
Go fuck yourself. Calm down. You're going to be fine. Don't be such a sissy.
Yeah. Don't be soft.
Soft. SAWFT. Soft. Anyway, anything else you want to throw out there before we put a bow on this week's episode?
No, not that I can think of.
This was a good time. We're not going to give you a preview of next week. You're just going to have to tune in and see what we come up with. But make no mistake about it, Jill will be back with us. And again, you can hear her on Sundays as well with new episodes of Creepy Soup. She's been doing an amazing job over there with her daughter Judy, as she has been sitting in for Jenny. So a shout out to both of them, and then you'll hear Jill back here on Wednesday for another episode of Power Trippin' Through the 80s. And one more time, go check out the Holidays store, pfcholidays.printify.me, or the pfcstore.printify.me, the main merchandise store for all of our great merchandise for all the shows here. And for all the latest information, you can check out pfcnetwork.net. Till then, go out, be awesome to yourselves and to each other, and we will see you next Wednesday with a brand new episode of Power Trippin' Through the 80s on the PFC Entertainment Network.